Yeah, it's always hard to know what to expect with your first game. It's hard to know what to expect from the opposition. We were really confident that they were going to be a really serious threat. They have a style of game that means if you're a little bit off, they can really put you to the sword and have some real quality, especially around the ball. So there are a number of things beyond just the result that we were happy with, but thought our ability to make it a bit harder for them to play their game with our pressure around the ball was right up there with the most impressive bits.
You obviously have stars all over the field, like we know that, but do you think it's actually the fundamentals of your game that actually caused all that pressure and those troubles for them early in the game?
I agree with that. What we know is that we're not a team that can just go out and play our way without any concern or work into the opposition. It's not. The competition across the board is just way too good these days. There's too much talent around that if you go out and just hope that your talent versus their talent is going to get the job done, I think you're going to be found wanting. So a little bit of system stuff we were really happy with that gave us a chance, and as you say, it's sort of that structure I think helped us get some pressure on the ball. Now sometimes they still look good working the ball through, not just that third quarter, but even early on it was pretty obvious that if they did work the ball through, they were going to be a real threat. And yeah, I do agree some of our best players are stars of the game and they're sort of towards the latter part of their career. But it's nice we're getting the sense that we don't rely on them maybe in the way that we once did. We thought Sam De Koning was outstanding today. We loved his game. We loved Shannon Neal's game. It was really good for us to have Connor O'Sullivan in the team. And that's in addition to the guys that, second, third year players like Lawson Humphreys and Ollie Dempsey and those guys. So yeah, we think it's shifting a little bit. But the very best teams, if you're going to compete with them, if you're relying on 4 players, you're in big trouble.
And is the 13 different goal kickers emblematic of what you've just said as well? That spread, post Hawkins, you've got all these other players that can do the job.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I'm assuming that every sort of club is a little bit different. Coaches think about this aspect a little bit differently, but we're very much, an organisation that sort of shapes the way we do things around its people. And the forwards are a good example of that. Shannon Neal. Now, I'm not saying Shannon Neal's better than Tom Hawkins. Can I repeat that? I'm not saying that. But he's different. And so we have adjusted a little bit to sort of suit what Shannon can do as a 203 centimetre athlete, compared to how we might have gone about it when Tom was in the forward line.
That last quarter, what were you thinking at three-quarter time, and how concerned were you by the state of the game at that point?
No, concerned, but not completely surprised. I think it is a modern game to an extent. Look, momentum is much, much harder to stop than ever, and if anyone's critical of rule changes, I can't see how they could be critical of the 6-6-6 rule for a start. It just when a team is up and going, and that there are fewer levers that you can pull to slow the game down. And I think that's terrible for coaches, but it's good for fans and obviously the team with the momentum. So yeah, we were concerned but confident that we could arrest it with a few tweaks.
How much of a luxury in that case is it to have a Patrick Dangerfield who's been playing forward to swing into the middle and stem the flow?
Yeah, it definitely helps. And we're not 100% sure exactly how all that's going to play out. My guess is it'll be a bit like today. It'll sort of depend, what the game requires. But we thought he was really influential as a forward for the whole game. But he was pretty handy in the centre bounces and in the middle sort of later in the game. So, yeah, it's not the first or last time that I say it. It's nice to have him in your team.
You know, three, a bit of a low-key recruit. He stepped up and didn't do a better job for you.
Sorry, Roger.
Number 3.
Oh, yeah, the low-key recruit, yeah. With a quick summary, it was what we had in mind when we brought him in. So I think I've tried to temper expectations a little bit, even with him. Not because we didn't think he could play the way he did. We always thought that was that was a strong possibility. But it was just, we've got a bigger focus, like a longer term focus. It was like he's going to have his moments after missing a year of footy, but we're much more focused on what he's going to be over a 10 to 15 year period than this game or next game.
How important was it for him, for any player, I guess, given he's coming off a Rico, he has not played for a year, regardless of the profile and everything, just to get out there and just look $1 million?
Yeah,
Like as it is to be.
Yeah, and like anyone that knows anything about him would know that he couldn't have prepared better. You know, if anything, the risk with Bailey is that he does too much, and sometimes, you know, it's a humble brag, that one, isn't it? It's like saying that your biggest flaw in a job interview is your that you work too hard, you're a workaholic. But he is. He's just always like, if there's a problem, it's like, well, I'll just go harder and try to fix it. So there was no doubt about the work. He was well and truly, you know, prepared physically. But I don't care who you are. If you've missed a year of footy, you know, there's some anxiety that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And so look, he just hasn't had a problem with that knee at all in his time with us. So that gave him some confidence as well. But we like some things that would have been a little less obvious, that just sort of said to us, he's picked up the way we want to play and the things we value well in the pre-season. And it's rare that a new player can come in first game and basically do everything everything right in our eyes.
Speaking of first games, what was going through your head like in that third quarter when the Freo kid went a bit berserk? That was one of the more exceptional first games.
Yeah. It was. It brings a bit of youthful exuberance. It's a first round pick too, so it's not as if you it wasn't as if we weren't aware of the quality. But no, I was as happy as you could be as an opposition coach. So at the time, not that happy, but impressed.
What made you as a coach happier, the start or the finish?
Not very good at ranking these things, but probably the finish. They changed the way the game was being played, and I think it's harder to arrest that than sort of take it away at the start of the game. So, you know, three-quarter time, they're well and truly in the game.
So can I just go back to Bailey as well? You just said you had focus is tempering that expectation for what he can do, but to have that performance first up, does that become harder when, you know, fans or that type of thing get excited about that type of thing, and going forward to kind of say that it might still have its ups and downs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they listen to me at all, and it's not, at least in this respect, and I don't think they should temper their expectations. I think they should be shouting from the rooftops. Excuse me. But it was more just the reality of the situation. When you've missed a year of footy, it doesn't matter if you're Jeremy Cameron or, a second-year player. It's just hard work. So there'll likely be some ups and downs, but it's not. We're not rooting for it. I think all Geelong supporters should be really excited and optimistic about how we can change our team for the better.
That performance from Mitch Nevitt as well, was that pleasing to see him come into that midfield and see there's been a bit of hype about him pre-season as well? Yeah,
he's had a great pre-season, and it was just a good example of a player that, you know, trained his way into the team basically. He really deserved the chance to play, and it was good to see him play well off the back of all that work. Yeah, we really liked the last quarter with Mitch Nevitt and Jai Clark in there together. You know, it wasn't as if it was easy. You know, the game was on the line and they needed to step up, and we thought they did.
Just in defence as well, obviously you've got players that are moving in and out, in Tom Stewart and a few others, but Jack Henry seems to provide a bit of a calm, consistent head back there. Can you speak to how important he is to the evolution of that back line?
Yeah, there's a few guys down there that have played together for a while now. So Lawson Humphries is relatively new. Kolodjasny comes back into that team. Blitzarbs and De Koning have sort of been around for a while, but I think it's a good observation. Jack would be, as much as any of them, the mainstay of that group. He's a bit different to his brother, the forward up the other end. Not in a bad way. They're just different.
Did you get a chance to, see any of the VFL guys kind of playing this morning, AFL guys in the VFL, and how difficult may it be to break into this team after this performance, or does it become, about the opponent next week as well?
Yeah, I think, as you know, we tend not to be thinking about what our best team is in any particular week. We think of it in terms of a squad, and unashamedly we do think about the opposition, we think about the venue. 31 or 2 degrees or whatever it was here in Geelong is a different game to the one played under the roof at Marvel next week. So we've just got to put some thought into what all that looks like. But the feedback that I've got from the early game was that the guys in and around the team played well. We're really conservative with Jack Martin, and we'll continue to be over the next week or two. But when we think he's fully fit, I'll be surprised if he doesn't slot into our team.
Smack, you set of clearances through the middle two quarters, I think 13-2. How much of that was a focus at three-quarter time? You clearly got it back in returns in the last quarter.
Yeah, a little bit. So, obviously, their dominance of the game was more than just that part. But, it was a factor. But, hopefully, I don't think we always achieve this, but we're aspiring to be balanced in our view. And if you can sort of make things a bit self-fulfilling if you sort of focus on one part too much, and then they end up getting you somewhere else. And again, they're a highly talented team, lots of threats everywhere. And again, it's a good problem to have, I guess, but sort of even the Dangerfield one's a good example. It's like, if we can get the ball forward to him a little bit more, we'd like him to be forward. But yeah, it was more than just him going in there, but it did make a difference when he was in there, we thought. All right, thanks a lot.